Exactly 3 years ago, 19th February 2023, my world changed forever. It was middle of the day, nothing dramatic, no warning bells, just life doing what it does. I was holding my dad in my arms, helping him walk back to his bed from the loo. He looked at me, really looked at me one last time. And then he let go, just like that. His heart stopped and mine didn't stop. It shattered. I remember what came next more than anything else. The silence. Not the peaceful silence, the kind of silence that's so loud that it even makes your own thoughts scream. I lost him in those few seconds. My dad wasn't just my father, he was an educationist through and through. Learning wasn't his job, it was his faith. When his PhD students came for his fourth day rituals, we have the fourth day special ritual in India, traveling all the way from the US, Canada, and the UAE. I just stood there and cried. Not just because dad was gone, but because I finally saw how deeply he had touched lives. Here were people he had mentored, challenged, pushed, believed in, standing there with so much respect, so much gratitude. This was a man who believed fiercely in the power of learning, who spent his entire life shaping young minds, who dreamt big, not just for himself, but for everyone around him. He wanted everyone to do a PhD, not for the degree, but for the discipline, the curiosity, and the courage it takes to stay with questions longer than answers. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for giving me the space to share my heart today. It felt good to say this out aloud. It felt good to share my deepest feelings at this moment with my pod family. Today's episode is for you, Dad. Cheers, and I hope you're listening. All right, let's begin today's episode. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips, the space where we take everyday communication struggles and gently turn them into, oh, that makes sense, moments. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. I hear it all the time from the people I coach. Sarika, I write perfectly, but when I speak, everything collapses. My grammar, it disappears. Words get lost and I panic. Is this familiar to you? Because honestly, I get it completely. I used to fumble all the time. I'd start a sentence in present tense, slide confidently into the future tense, and then boom, suddenly I'm hopping between past and present like my brain missed a step. My logic back then was very simple. People understand what I'm saying. So, how do tenses really matter? And you know what? I kind of still agree with that. But let me tell you, I once worked with a client, I can't name her, but trust me, she was brilliant, sharp, thoughtful, the kind who could draft reports that made the CEO quietly nod and think, yes, this person knows her stuff. But the moment she had to present, oh my God. She'd start a sentence and it would just go rogue. Words would mash together, tenses would switch mid flight, and ideas literally raced ahead of her mouth. Came back to me afterwards with her cheeks flushed, all red, almost apologetic, and said, Sarika, why can't I just say what I mean in proper English? I know it perfectly well in my head. I can write it down. But when I speak, I feel I sound so dumb. And I stopped her right there. I said, you don't sound dumb at all just because your grammar is imperfect when you speak. But if this is breaking your confidence, let me tell you something very clearly. It's not the lack of intelligence. It's not the lack of English. It's definitely not because you're bad at speaking. It's simply real time pressure of speaking which is causing the problem. Because your brain is trying to juggle ideas, words, tenses, tone, nerves, all at the same time. And that is exactly what today's episode is about. I'm going to share 3 practical, lived in strategies that will help your spoken grammar feel as smooth as your writing. Even when emotions run high, even when the spotlight is on you, and even when your heart's beating a little faster than usual. And by the end of this episode, I want you to walk away with a gold mine of strategies to truly transform you and transform your confidence. Talking about confidence, stay tuned because I'm coming up with a masterclass about how to become the most confident version of you. It's online, you can do it anywhere in the world, and the results are magical. If you want to know more, just message me on Instagram. My handle is communicate101. Let's keep in mind, speaking clearly is not about perfection. It's about structure, it's about rhythm, and most importantly, it's about giving yourself permission to pause, breathe while you speak. All right, let's dive straight in. Let me start with a truth that no one tells you. Long sentences. Long ones? Long sentences are the worst enemy of spoken grammar. They look fine on paper, but the moment you say them aloud, your brain panics. Because when you speak in paragraphs, those long sentences, your brain is juggling too much at once. The idea, the tense, the word order, the pronunciation, and something always drops. Let me share a story. I was once sitting on an interview panel. We were interviewing a candidate. She was sharp, she was smart, and she was full of promise because she knew her subject inside out. The only thing was that when she started speaking, it was like a dam broke. Her sentences just poured out like mad. She said something like, so I think I did this project last month, then we tried to analyze the numbers, but some of the data was missing, so I had to wait for the team, and then we discussed the approach, and then... Did you even understand a bit of what I said? No, right? That's exactly how the interview panel felt. Because her spoken English had no pauses, no breathing space, no comma, no full stop. You could see the panel completely losing patience. Not because she lacked talent, because they could not hear it. Because her grammar sounded messy, her clarity was gone, and her confidence, well, it seemed to have vanished. Now, I thought this would be such a waste. I've been a teacher all my life, and once a teacher, always a teacher. I stepped in and I told her just one thing. I said, speak in 5 to 7 second chunks, one complete thought at a time. That's it. She caught on instantly. Earlier, she said something like, I was thinking that if everyone's okay, maybe I can share the draft after lunch so that I can send it to the panel to review because they need the presentation by evening. Confusing. And now, she said, I'll share the draft after lunch. The presentation will be ready for review by evening. Same idea, different delivery. And suddenly, everything changed. Her brain relaxed, her grammar fell into place, and the panel, well, they leaned in. They could finally hear how sharp she was. Her confidence came back, and yes, she got the role she deserved. So here's the lesson. Do not speak in paragraphs. Break your thoughts into tiny chunks and pause between them. Let your mouth catch up with your mind. Let your listener catch up with you. Because short bursts mean clear speech, which actually translates into confident delivery. Let me give you an exercise, a small little exercise to test what I'm saying. Okay? You all know how to make tea or coffee? All right. Grab a pen and paper and write a 100-word paragraph on how to make tea or how to make coffee. Make sure it's 100 words, not shorter. Now, part 2 of this exercise. Separately on a paper, write 3 simple steps, bulleted steps for the same thing. Each step not more than 5 to 7 words long. All right? Speak both the things that you've written, the paragraph and the 3 steps, one by one. Record yourself and listen back. You will hear the difference. You will realize that when you speak in short bursts, your speech becomes clearer and you sound way more confident. If you like learning communication skills like this, little shifts that make a big difference, come hang out with me on Instagram. I share tips, real stories, and practical hacks almost every day. And I also share how to speak less and say more. My Instagram handle is the same, Communicate 101. We move on to strategy number 2 in the next leg. Let me tell you something most people don't realize. When we mess up grammar while speaking, it's rarely because we don't know English. It's because our brain is under tremendous pressure. We're thinking about what to say, how to say, who's judging us, all the time. And all at the same time. And right in the middle of that mental circus, grammar quietly collapses. You felt this, right? You start a sentence confidently, and halfway through, your brain is panicking, and the sentence, well, it just dies midair. That's usually because of tense confusion. So here's a ridiculously simple hack I teach almost everyone I coach. Start your sentence with a time marker. Let me explain. Think of it like telling your brain, hey, decide when first and when everything else comes forward. It's like choosing a lane before you start driving. Once the lane is clear, past, present, or future, the sentence flows on its own. For example, right now we are reviewing the proposal. Here the time marker is right now. Yesterday I completed the report. The time marker is yesterday. From next month, we'll shift to a new schedule or schedule. So from next month is the time marker. Simple, almost boring. But let me tell you a story. I coach a lot of sales teams, and there's one place where communication has to be clean. Client-facing roles is the place where it needs to be absolutely clean. So we start with role plays. In one session, there was this sales manager, super friendly, super articulate, sharp guy. In casual conversation, he was brilliant. But the moment he got a client's call, he panicked. His tense went on a roller coaster. He'd start in the past, jump to the present, land somewhere in the future. It sounded like, so last week I'm analyzing the numbers, and right now we will, the next week honestly, the client wasn't confused because he lacked ideas. The client was confused because the timeline was drunk. I stopped him and gave him one line. Pretend your sentence is a train and time markers are the tracks. So first, pick a track, past, present, or future. Because when you pick a track, the train won't derail. That clicked. We went to the basics. We practiced short, boring sentences. Something like, yesterday I completed the report. Right now I'm reviewing the data. From next week, we'll start the new workflow. Then we stretched these, but we still kept them anchored. For example, yesterday I reviewed the client's feedback. Today I'll share my recommendations with the team. From next month, we'll implement the agreed changes. So you realize we picked a track, whether we want to choose past or present or future, and the time markers made sure the sentences stayed on the tracks. The salesperson's next client call? Flawless. There was no conscious grammar thinking, no panic, no self correction loops, because he sounded calm, clear, and in control. And the best part, the clients noticed not because his English suddenly became better, but because his ideas finally landed cleanly. Why does this work? It's scientific because time markers reduce the cognitive load. They give your brain a starting point. Your mouth follows and your listener follows. And suddenly, you sound confident without trying to sound confident. So the next time you speak, just lock the tense first. Yesterday, right now, from next week, choose your lane. And your brain knows the lane. Your words stay on track. And your listener finally hears the ideas you actually meant to share. That's a powerful, tiny trick used at the right moment creates magical results. Share with me how this trick worked for you. If you liked it, don't forget to follow Communicate 101 on Instagram. The last and the third strategy right in the next segment. Let me ask you something. Why do we speak so fast? Is it because we are excited? Sometimes, but mostly, why do we speak fast? It could be because we want to sound fluent. It could be because we don't want to waste the other person's time. But honestly, it's anxiety which turns speed into a safety blanket. We speak fast because we are anxious. When we are nervous, we rush. We think faster, and we think that thinking faster means thinking smarter, but it's not the case. Now, here's something interesting. Whenever I'm coaching or explaining something to my kids or even talking to my younger relatives, I automatically slow down. I don't even think about it. Why? Because kids don't sit politely and pretend to understand. They won't nod. They won't say, yes, yes, makes sense. They'll just look at you and go, what? Kids don't respond to long lectures. They respond to clarity, pacing, and a little humor. The other day, I was helping my niece, she's 8, with her school science project. She was really annoyed, pencil down, arms crossed. And there she goes. I don't get it. The volcano thing is so confusing. Now, I could have gone into a full science teacher mode magma, pressure, eruptions. Instead, I said, okay, let's slow down. First, what is a volcano? Pause. It's basically a mountain that sometimes sneezes lava. She burst out laughing. Now, she was hooked. And then I said, next, when the lava comes out, it's because the mountain is full of hot, angry stuff. Then I paused. I said, can you draw that? I'll help. And that was it. We went slow, short bursts, one idea at a time, and a little bit of humor. Tiny pauses in between, not awkward, just enough to let the idea land. And 20 minutes later, her project was done. Most importantly, she got it. She understood what the volcano was, what that eruption was, and what she was supposed to do. So here's the big takeaway. The same techniques I teach adults for spoken grammar and confidence. Short bursts, time markers, and micro pauses. They're exactly the same ones I instinctively use with kids. Because kids are brutally honest. If they don't understand you, you'll know it immediately. But we adults, we're much more polite. We hide confusion between those nods. Yeah, got it. Even when we don't. So here's a simple rule that I live by. If you can explain something clearly to a child, you can explain it clearly to anyone. Slow down, pause, repeat, breathe. Kids absorb better that way. And guess what? Adults do too. So if you can explain clearly to a child, you can absolutely make your spoken grammar smooth for any audience. Before we end today's episode, let me say this quietly, clearly, and honestly. If spoken English has ever felt hard to you, it's not because you're bad at grammar. It's not because you don't know English. It's because when we speak, our brain is racing and our mouth is trying to keep up. And that's when pressure sneaks in. That's it. Therefore, speed, structure, pressure, that's the real problem. And today you didn't learn the rules, you learned relief. You learned how to speak in short bursts. You learned how to use time markers and how to add those tiny pauses. Try this for just 1 week. Not to impress anyone, not to sound perfect, just to sound like yourself. And one day soon, you'll notice something beautiful. You'll notice people are leaning in, meetings are feeling easier, your voice is sounding calmer, steadier, and more human. Not because you memorized grammar, but because you gave yourself permission to slow down. And before I go, I want to do something a little different. If you're listening right now, wherever you are, I want to ask you for a small, quiet favor. Today's episode, you remember, was dedicated to my dad. Please pause for a moment. Think about my dad just for a few seconds. Wish him peace, send him love, hold him gently in your heart. Thank you. Thank you for doing that with me. Thank you for holding this space. And as you do, think of your people too, the ones who shaped your voice, your courage, the way you speak, think, and show up in the world. And just before I go, one last thing. A lot of what we spoke about today, slowing down, finding your voice, sounding calm and clear, it all comes down to one word: confidence. Not the loud kind, not the fake it till you make it kind. The quiet confidence that lets you walk into a room and think, I belong here. Stay tuned because I'm coming up with a masterclass on exactly that. How to become the most confident version of you. It's completely online and you can do it from anywhere in the world. And I promise you, the shifts are magical. If you want to know more, just message me on Insta at Communicate101. And now, we close the circle. This is Sarika Singh signing off. Up until next time, speak with clarity, write with a purpose, and communicate like the world is listening. Because it is. Because the ones you love are always watching. Thank you for listening to this episode of Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips with Sarika Singh. If you want to be notified of upcoming episodes, be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow the podcast. I'll be back to share more stories, more life experiences, and more communication tips every Friday. If you want to reach me or connect with me, just put your comments in the comment box below or mail me at info@sarikasingh.in. I know you're going to rate and review this podcast, so a big thank you in advance. Stay tuned and think about what we talked today.